The neighbor said it smelled like a dead animal, but what the cops found behind the furnace was something no one in Maple Hollow would ever forget. It started with a smell, that heavy, sick, sweet kind of smell, the kind that seeps into the walls and sticks to your clothes. It drifted through the cold spring air of Maple Hollow, curling around gutters and mailbox posts. The neighborhood was quiet, not safe quiet, numb quiet. No kids on bikes. No music from open windows, just wind through leafless trees and the buzz of broken street lamps. At the very end of Hollow Pine Drive, a sagging house leaned into itself like it had given up. Paint flaked off the siding like sunburned skin. Gutters hung down like broken arms. A for sale sign lay face down in the overgrown yard, half swallowed by mud, and in that house lived Eli Turner. No one really knew him. He came, maybe 5 years ago, quiet, always alone. Neighbors said he kept to himself, but some said he talked to things that weren't there. That day, the one nobody would ever forget, started like the others, gray, wet. Still, Eli was in the basement. That's where he spent most of his time now. It was the only place that felt alive to him. Cold stone walls, a low ceiling, a single light bulb swinging from a cord. He liked the sound it made when it buzzed. It made him feel like something was listening. The basement had no windows, no clocks, just the chair, the table, the hammer, and the dark. Upstairs was a mess. Piles of dishes. Mold growing on old bread. The sink smelled like metal and rot, but none of that mattered to Eli. Not anymore. He'd lost his job last fall. Factory work. The last one left in town. They cut half the staff overnight. No warning. He got a letter, in the mail. Not even a call. After that, things fell apart fast. The light stayed on, but the fridge stayed empty. Phone shut off. Bills piled up in a drawer he never opened. People stopped checking on him, and eventually he stopped caring. Then came the knock. It was soft, polite, almost like it didn't want to wake the house. Eli sat still for a moment, staring at the basement wall. His eyes twitched toward the stairs. Another knock, slightly louder. He stood slowly. Stiff legs, bare feet slapping against the floor. The front door creaked when he opened it. It always did. And there she was, a young woman, maybe 22, drenched from the rain, backpack slung over one shoulder, hair matted flat. Her cheeks were red from the cold, but she smiled anyway. "Hi," she said, her voice light. "Sorry, my phone died and I think I took a wrong turn. Is this Hollow Pine Road?" Eli just stared. Her eyes were bright, too bright for a place like this. She hugged her arms to her chest. "Sorry to bother you. I just need to find the highway. Do you maybe have a map or a charger?" A long silence passed. Then Eli nodded, said, "Come in," and stepped aside. The girl's name was Lacey. She talked a lot about how she was visiting her boyfriend 2 towns over, how she took the scenic route and forgot how rural things got out here, how her car broke down 2 streets over, and how stupid it was that she didn't pack a raincoat. Eli said little, just watched her move, the way her eyes scanned the room, polite but uncomfortable, the way she glanced at the water stain on the ceiling. He offered her a glass of water. She took it, said thank you. "I think there's an old map in the basement," he said. "Oh, okay," she replied, her voice unsure for the first time. "I can wait here, though, if it's a mess." "No," Eli said too quickly. "It's fine, you can come." She hesitated but smiled again. That same kindness, that trust. She followed him to the basement door. The steps were narrow, old wood. Each one groaned under their weight. Lacey tried to joke. "Feels like a horror movie setup, huh?" Eli didn't laugh. He opened the basement door, stepped down first. She followed. She never saw it coming. The hammer came from the left, a quick, hard swing. It cracked against her temple with a sickening thud. She hit the floor before she could even scream. Eli stood over her, breathing hard. The hammer hung at his side, dripping. He tilted his head, watching the small red pool spread beneath her hair. She moaned. Still alive. He grabbed the rope he kept behind the shelf, pulled her arms behind her back, wrapped her wrists tight, then her ankles. She was crying now, whimpering, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Why?" she gasped. "Please." Eli didn't answer. He just dragged her to the wall and chained her to the pipe. Days passed. The world above kept moving. Rain came and went. People drove to work, watched TV, went to sleep. But down here, time rotted. Lacey begged, promised not to tell. Promised money. Promised anything. Eli just sat across from her, sometimes silent, sometimes speaking nonsense, sometimes crying and laughing at the same time. She stopped eating, then stopped drinking. Then, she stopped pleading. By the 5th day, she was barely speaking at all, and Eli got bored. He stood in front of her, holding the knife. Old, rusted, the handle taped up. She didn't scream. She just looked at him with empty eyes. The knife went in, slow, once, twice. She coughed blood, whimpered something too quiet to hear, and then she was still. Eli sat there for a long time, just staring at her body. The blood made strange patterns on the floor. Some of it soaked into the cracks in the concrete. Some of it stayed warm, steaming lightly in the cold air. He didn't cry. He didn't laugh. He just breathed. Finally, he stood. He rolled up his sleeves, dragged her body to the drain in the middle of the floor. He scrubbed the blood. It smeared more than it vanished. Took hours. His hands ached. His back screamed. But he kept going. The body he wrapped in a tarp, thick black plastic, duct tape all around it. He shoved it behind the furnace. It was the only place she would fit. The smell hit him the next day. He opened a window upstairs, but it didn't help. The rot crawled up the walls, into the vents, into everything. He burned incense, lit candles, even sprayed air freshener he found under the sink, but nothing could cover it. Not really. By the 3rd day, the neighbor said something. Mrs. Polanski lived next door since the 70s. Hard of hearing, bad hip, but sharp as a blade. She told the mailman it smelled like a dead cat. Told her niece it might be something worse. She knocked on Eli's door that Thursday. He didn't answer. But she called the police. Said it was a wellness check. Said she was worried. Said she heard something the night before. That's when everything started to fall apart. 2 officers showed up the next morning. Routine check. Knocked on the door twice. Eli opened it. Shirt wrinkled, face unshaven. He gave a weak smile. Said, "Yeah, sorry, I've been sick. They asked to come in." He hesitated, then stepped aside. The living room smelled wrong. They noticed it right away. "Mind if we look around?" one asked. He nodded slowly, tried to act normal. They walked through the kitchen, saw the rotting dishes, the burned-out light bulb, heard the buzzing. Then one of them stopped near the basement door. Sniffed. "Is that from down there?" Eli's face twitched. "Nah," he said. "Just a bad drain. I poured bleach. Mind if we take a look?" He didn't answer. Just froze. And that was all they needed. They opened the basement door themselves. The stench hit them like a wall. One of them gagged. They turned on the light. It flickered once, then glowed dim yellow. The smell was strongest. Near the furnace, they stepped down slowly, hands on their holsters. That's when they saw it. The plastic, the tape, the shape. The silence after that was thick, like the whole world held its breath. Eli ran. He bolted past them, shoulder-checking one hard against the wall, out the front door, down the porch steps. But he was slow, weak, malnourished, and shaky. He didn't get far. The backup unit tackled him at the edge of the neighbor's lawn. "Face down in the mud," he screamed. Not words, just noise, like something inside him was breaking loose. The scene stayed taped off for 3 days. Detectives came and went. So did reporters. Neighbors watched from behind curtains, whispering. They dug deeper. Found blood in the drains. Fingerprints. On the rope. Scraps of fabric caught in nails along the furnace wall, and her bag, still in the corner. Soaked. Forgotten. Zipped halfway open. Inside was her ID, Lacey Michelle Rowe, 22. Student. She'd been missing for 6 days. The trial was short. Eli Turner was declared mentally fit. There was no question of guilt. They had everything. The hammer. The knife. The tapes, yeah, they found tapes. Old cassette ones hidden in a drawer under the stairs. Hours of him talking. Sometimes to himself, sometimes to her, sometimes to something else. No one played them in court. Not out loud. But the look on the judge's face after hearing just one was enough. Eli got life without parole. No chance. No appeal. They asked if he wanted to say anything at sentencing. He stood up. Looked at the families, then said, "The basement was mine. It listened to me. She didn't." That was it. Now he sits in a cell. Fluorescent lights. Steel toilet. Concrete walls. He barely eats. Doesn't talk. Doesn't ask for books. But he's always facing the wall. They say sometimes he presses his ear to it, like he's listening, like he's waiting for something to speak back. The prison guards don't. Like working his block, not because he's violent, he isn't. He never fights, never yells. Never even asks for anything. But there's something about him, something cold, empty. Like he left his soul somewhere else and forgot to go back for it. They say he wakes up every night at the same time. 12 a.m. on the dot. He sits up in bed. Stares. Into the dark. Whispers something under his breath. They can't make out the words. One guard swears he saw Eli smile. Not a grin. Not joy. Something worse. Like a man remembering something that only made sense to him. Outside the prison, life moved on. Lacey's parents held a small memorial, closed casket, only a few photos on display. Her graduation, her with her dog, one of her blowing out birthday candles, age 5. There weren't many words spoken. What could you even say? They didn't want sympathy. They wanted her back. Back in the neighborhood, the Turner house was condemned, the basement sealed off. The wood panels on the porch rotted clean through. Grass grew tall around the fence, swallowing the path. No one went near it anymore, not even the kids who used to ride bikes down that street. Local kids started calling it the house that eats people. Teenagers dared each other to touch the doorknob and run. No one stayed long. Even in the daylight, that place felt wrong, like it still remembered what happened. There were questions afterward. Questions no one wanted to answer. Could someone have stopped it? Should someone have checked on Eli sooner? His job had let him go without notice. His doctor had prescribed antidepressants months before, but he never picked them up. The neighbor had heard strange noises more than once, but no one connected the dots. No one thought he was dangerous, just weird, quiet, sad. And that's how it happens, isn't it? Not with monsters, not with evil grins or blood-red eyes, but with silence. Loneliness. A man who gave up on being seen. What haunts people most isn't what he did. It's how normal he looked, doing it. How calm. The officers who opened that basement door still talk about it sometimes. One said it didn't feel like a room. It felt like a tomb. Another one had nightmares for months. Not of blood. Not of screams. But of that one light bulb, flickering in the dark. People ask why he did it. Was it hate? Mental. Illness, revenge, but the answer's worse. He never gave one. He didn't pick her for a reason. She wasn't someone he knew. She just knocked on the wrong door. That's it. That's all. It could have been anyone. That's what makes it so terrifying. And Eli, he never talks about her. Not once. Not even in his psych evaluations. But he does ask one thing now and then. Just one question, whispered under his breath when he thinks no one's listening. Is the basement still locked? No one ever answers. Because maybe the scariest part is that for Eli Turner, the real punishment wasn't prison. It was losing the one place he ever felt powerful, the one place that listened. And maybe, just maybe, he's still trying to get back there, even now, in his mind in the dark, in silence, waiting for the light to flicker one more time.
What are your thoughts on this case? Let us know in the comments. Like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for daily crime cases we uncover. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Click here to watch the next video as we uncover another thrilling crime case.